Hello, let me present to you a set of songwriting workshops designed for Year 9 students in both languages and music. What's the idea behind this? Well, why don't you take a look for yourselves? These workshops are designed to get students creating their own words in French and their own music too. They're going to be helped to do that by professional musicians, helped by some undergraduates. The idea is to get them to use their own creativity in both languages and music, and to exploit some amazing resources which will inspire them to release an album of their own songs online. But who are we? My name is Prof Helen Abbott, and I lead a project which explores how French poetry is set to music. I'm based at the University of Birmingham, and I work with some fantastic collaborators. For these songwriting workshops, that means working with Nicholas Alexander, or better known as Nick, who is an extremely experienced schools workshop facilitator, as well as an amazing collaborative musician. Let me tell you a little bit about why we want to do this. In fact, there are 6 reasons. The first of these is that we know that Year 9 is a pretty important time for when students are studying languages in schools, and it's also the moment when music is beginning to shape their lives more than ever. Second reason is we know that resources for languages and music is pretty challenging at the moment in most schools. The third reason is that we know we ourselves have got a fantastic project on the go, which is building these amazing resources, which we want you and your students to be able to have access to and to benefit from. Reason 4, well, our project looks at a really famous 19th century French poet Baudelaire and how and why people are still using his words to write their own songs today, whether it's about cities or women or travelling to other countries. All of these ideas are inspiring them already. So we thought, and this is reason 5, why not get even more people to write their own songs based on Baudelaire's poems? Because, and this is our final reason, we think it would be fun and a really participative way, which will allow schools to produce and launch new songs online, which have both French and music skills right at the core. So what specifically will the main workshops actually entail? Well, we want to base it around a really interesting poem written by Baudelaire in 1846 called À une Malabareuse, or To an Indian Woman. And this Indian woman wants to come to France, and the poet basically tells her not to. He says, "Pourquoi, heureuse enfant, veux-tu voir notre France? Ce pays trop peuplé, que fauche la souffrance." And students can get to know the poem through a website that's got lots of translations on it, and through a single that was released recently by a Belgian band. They can start to listen and start to ask themselves, is this a good song? Do they like it? Does it get the poem? What kind of take has it made of the poem? Does it distort it a bit too much? Generally just getting familiar with it. So that when they come to the first of the workshop, it's going to be really about identifying the themes that matter to them. It might be around immigration. It might be around gender or overpopulation. Themes that often relate to PSHE topics or to GCSE vocab further down the line. But the same workshop about identifying text-based themes is also about identifying music-based themes. What kind of vibe do the students want to bring to this? Do they want to do a hip-hop version? Do they want to make it a jazz version? What kind of thing do they think will suit their interpretation? The second workshop will then be much more about refining their ideas and to get them to really write down what they think the refrain should be. So what kind of hook are they going to do for this, which is important? And we think that working with something like a call and response technique might be really useful here, where they ask a question in English and there's a response in French, for example. And we'll provide them with some keyword sets, rhyming pairs, for example, or voyager, partager, étranger, to help them build up those keywords. And it's the moment also where they decide what the song structure will be. Will it have lots of verses or just 3 verses? How many refrains will it have? How repetitive will it be? Will there be a bridge section? All of those key skills that are closely tied to what they might do further down the line and for a GCSE composition portfolio. Then the third of the workshops will be about finalising the full lyrics and the full melody, so that the production team can then take that away to start working up a backing track. And the idea is that further down the line, they will then be able to come to a recording studio and put the vocals down themselves. And we hope you agree that that's a pretty amazing opportunity for them to get inside a professional recording studio, and hopefully pretty good PR for the school too. So when might these workshops take place? Well, we envisage that these will happen in the autumn, and that Nick will lead the workshops to school groups of about 30 students, divided into 5 groups and supported by our undergrads. They will be set some short tasks in between sessions to make sure that they really get the lyrics and the main musical material ready. Over Christmas then, Nick will work on the backing track, so that after Christmas, students can come into the studio and put down their vocals. And if we're working in 5 different groups, that means there's the potential for 5 songs of completely different musical styles with different kind of takes on the text to be put down on an album. And we then launch that online album at a major UK song festival and marketed, of course, via our social media channels, which are pretty international. The idea there is to really reach out to parents, to other schools, to wider audiences online, to really showcase that creativity that we know our Year 9s have, and to start to change any of those slightly negative attitudes towards languages and music skills. So what might we need from you? Well, the good news is for the first 3 schools, there's no cost. For any of the other schools who want to take this up, we'd be looking for a contribution to the costs of the workshop facilitator and the production costs, typically in the low to mid hundreds, and we very much encourage you to pool resources around that. Any school who gets involved in this project would need to provide a staff member to help us, to be able to select the students, to book suitable space, to supervise, although we will have DBS clearance for all our facilitators, and just to help us check on progress. So that's very much a light touch approach. Most important, of course, is bags of enthusiasm. What would you get if you get involved in this project? Well, we're also putting together a resource pack, which is very much designed with you in mind. So there'll be lesson plans and worksheets and extension work around that, around the skills essential to both French and music. So no doubt you've got plenty of questions emerging from what you've heard so far. We just wanted to tell you a little bit about why we've done it this way. We have consulted with teachers from a number of schools, and they tell us time and again that the Year 9s are the hardest to engage, that teachers simply don't have time to develop resources, and that kind of common thread that students and parents are really worried about making the right GCSE choices. They don't always see music or languages as good for long-term prospects. So with languages suffering from being labelled as perhaps uncool or difficult, and music just getting stripped out of more and more schools' activities, we think combining those 2 issues is a win-win situation. We very much welcome any feedback you might have. Tell us what you think. Tell us in particular about the kind of materials we're proposing. Have a good read of the poem that we want to work around. Have a listen to the song, and please come and talk to us. We can be reached via email or via Twitter. We use them both. Thank you for your time.